Well, hey there everyone. Welcome back to part 2 of making a Bridgerton gown. So last week I made the undergarments, so the shift and the corset, and then this week we're going to make the actual gown that goes over all of it. So again, for the pattern, I am going to be using the same pattern that I used for the underdress, the shift, but I'm going to use the actual pattern pieces this time and not adjust anything crazy like that. I was planning on using some of the material that I'd bought a bit ago, but if I'm being completely honest, I absolutely hate the color of the material that I bought. So I did end up going to Walmart and getting a new, it's still blue, but the hue is just way better. It's just slightly darker. So I did go and buy some more satin for this dress, and then I was playing around with how I wanted this dress to look. And when you look at the show, all of their dresses are satins and shiny, and they're full of appliques and lace, and so I wanted to try and put some lace on top of this, but that didn't quite work out because I didn't have enough lace. So this dress is just going to be the satin, and then I'm going to put some little decorations on it, which you'll see me do later. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So after I bought that material, I went ahead and I cut out all the pattern pieces, and I ended up having just enough of this material to do the dress. I only got 5 yards. I probably could have gone, no, I got 6 yards. I probably could have gone for more if I wanted a more full skirt, which I did want to do, but I didn't have enough material to do. So we are just using the regular skirt pattern pieces and the regular top pattern pieces. So if you see me cutting out with a little lacy bit instead of the pattern piece, that's because I was going to use lace, but that's just the regular pattern piece cut out in lace. So yeah, I'm going to see you after that. So now that everything is cut out, it is time to start sewing things together. So for this bodice, we're going to first take the outer piece and the lining piece, and we're going to sew the 2 darts and the 2 sides. So I mentioned last week how I wanted to bring the middle in just a little bit just because it was gaping. So I did do that, but that means that the darts also came in, so that kind of looked weird when I first put them together. So I did have to adjust the darts back out to where they're supposed to be. And then once I sew those darts, I can take the 2 back pieces and sew them together, and then sew the back pieces onto the front bodice piece for both the lining and the outer fabric. And then the outer piece and then the lining get sewn right sides together around the back and then the neckline. Then you clip all the corners, turn it right sides out, and then iron it. So I'm gonna see you after that. Now again, the first thing that we need to do is add the 2 darts onto the outer fabric and the lining. And then we can take the side back piece and sew it onto the back piece. Once that's done, we can take the back pieces and sew them onto the front bodice piece at the side. Then they get sewn together at the arms, and again do all of this for the outer fabric and the lining. Now we're going to take those two layers and place them right sides together and sew just along the neckline. Then clip the curves and then turn our right sides out and iron. Now it's time for the arms. So for the sleeves, what you're going to do is you're going to take them, sew them together, right sides together, just down that little line, and then you're going to put a gathering stitch around the top and then around the bottom. And now for the little like armband that you're going to put on the bottom. So that gets sewn together, right sides together, just down the side. You iron up one of the sides and then that gets sewn on to the bottom of the sleeve. And then you'll see me do this, but then you basically flip it to the inside and then you top stitch around the outside and you have a little armband. And then finally the sleeve can be sewn on to the bodice. So I'm going to see you after that. Now for the arms, what you're going to do is you're going to place them right sides together and sew just along that little line there. Then I'm going to put a basting stitch along the top edge and around the bottom edge. And then for the cuff, we're also just going to place it right sides together and sew along that little line. Then to prep the cuff, we're just going to fold up one of the edges and iron it. And then once we've gathered the bottom sleeve to the same size as the cuff, we're going to pin it right sides together onto the cuff. Once we've sewn the cuff on, we're going to turn it onto the other side and iron it, and then it's going to be top stitched on the right sides. Once that's done to both of these sleeves, we can go ahead and add the sleeves onto the bodice. Now this is something that I normally don't do, but the fraying of the satin was driving me absolutely insane to the point where I wanted to take a lighter to it. Not in a crazy way, in a way that satin is made out of plastic and plastic melts, and that would stop the fraying. But I didn't do that out of fear that I was going to burn it all down, but I almost did it. So instead, I took a bias tape to the inside of the arm here, and I just sandwiched in all of the raw edges because it was driving me insane. So I think that's a normal thing to do. I just don't do it because I don't like putting effort into things, but I could not handle it. And then I had also redone the bottom armbands because I didn't sandwich them enough or well for all the flyaways to be, or all the exposed edges to be covered. So I did undo them, trim down the seam, and then re-sew them, and that also made my brain feel so much better. So once that was done, I could go ahead and I tried it on with my corset and everything to see what size I needed to take it in. And then I folded the edge in twice and then I sewed it down. And then we are ready to move on to the skirt. So I'm going to see you after that. And then again, to enclose all of these fraying seams, I am going to put a bodice tape just around the exposed edges, and make sure you sew just above your sew line so that it doesn't disrupt the sewing that you've already done for the sleeve. Then once I've measured how much I needed to take in, I'm going to fold in the back edge twice and sew it for the buttonholes. So now for the skirt, the construction is going to be very similar to the shift because they are the same pieces. So you take the two back panels of the skirt and then sew them all the way down except for that little tab that I have, and that's going to be turned into a hem. So that's just basically to be so that we can get on the dress easily, but I'm not going to put a little connector to close it because it's so small and it's just not going to matter. And then you can see that I also shortened that little tab from the pattern because I didn't want such a long opening there. I really just wanted it to be this much, just enough to be below the waistband so I can get the dress on. And then I did zigzag all of these edges again to contain the absolute monstrosity that satin is for fraying. So I zigzagged all the edges, and then you take the front skirt and then sew it on to the back panels. And then I'll see you back in a little bit to explain what I do with the back. Now for the skirt, we're going to take the two back pieces and place them right sides together and sew all the way up until that little tab there. Then the two tabs get turned in twice and sewn for the little opening for the back of the skirt. And I am zigzagging all of these edges to keep the fraying at bay. And then the front panel can be sewn onto the two back panels right sides together. So on the back of this dress, what the pattern tells you to do is to put a basting stitch on both sides of the back panels and then gather it. And that is what I did for the shift, but if you look at the Bridgerton gowns, they are all pleated and there's so much material there. So I wanted to do more than a gather. I wanted to pleat the back. So I needed to take it in about 8 inches according to the measurements of my bodice. So basically I took a chip clip bag, a clothespin bag, and that was the perfect size to create the uniform pleats along my skirt. So if you see me using a little chip clip, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm using. It gave just the perfect size for the pleats that I wanted. And then I just did 8 of those on each side of the thing, of the skirt, and then I could pin the bodice right sides together to it and sew all the way around. Now we're almost done, so then I wanted to add the buttons and buttonholes onto the bodice. Again, I didn't add any closures onto the skirt, just to the bodice, and then I hemmed the bottom. So I'm going to see you back after that to explain the embellishments that I'm going to put on this dress. Now for the pleating, just on the two back panels of the skirt, you can see that I'm using a little clothesline pin to evenly fold all of my pleating. Once I have it to the measurements that I like and that fit the bodice, I can go ahead and pin the bodice right sides together onto the skirt. And again, I am adding a bias tape around the exposed edge of the bodice and the skirt to cut down on the fraying. Now to hem the skirt, so pretty much I'm doing the same method that I do for most of my circle skirts. Since this has a little curve in it, I can't do a straight hem, so I'm going to iron up a little lip, and then I'm going to sew really close to the edge, then trim the excess of that fabric, and then fold it one last time and sew it. So since I didn't add a lace layer, this dress was kind of plain, and I needed to add just like a little something to make it better and not just straight satin. So I did order off of Amazon some appliques that were iron-on because I don't want to hand sew. So I specifically got iron-on appliques that I could literally just put straight on to my bodice and iron them on. So I got like a 4-pack of these really pretty like flower ones, and so I positioned them where I wanted on the front and on the back, and I just ironed them straight on. And then also for a little bit more embellishment, I got a little like lace that I could sew around the above the waistband of this dress. And then with that, we were all done, and it is time for the final look. After I've added the 4 buttonholes and the buttons, it is time to start with the decorations. So these are the iron-on appliques that I got. So I positioned them where I wanted them to be, and then just used my iron and setting those okay for the satin. And after pressing the iron on for just a few seconds, they will stick to the fabric. Also, yes, I am wearing my shifting corset because I was in the middle of trying this dress on, and then after I added the appliques, I was trying the dress on, taking it off, working on it, trying it on again. So yeah, I am wearing that. I then did the same to the back, and then we were almost there. And then for the lace, I'm just going to sew the top of this lace onto the bodice, and then we are ready for the final look. I can't believe I have this now. This turned out so good. And like at first I was like, all right, that's all right. But then I put like the whole look together and I feel like I should be dancing in a ballroom right now. I loved the applique that I found. There weren't many good options, especially for iron-on ones, and I happened upon this one and I'm so happy that I did. I think it looks great on the front, even better on the back. And then I love the little lace in the middle. That just really added what I needed to top off this whole look. And it's so cute. Like if you were to make this, I would highly recommend making at the very least the corset, because I've made a dress like this before and I didn't make it cat hair. And I didn't make it with the corset and it just didn't really fit right because it doesn't put the bust where it's supposed to be. So the dress kind of looked odd because the bust wasn't up here. It was like, you know, because the waistline's weird. I don't know how to explain it very well. So if you were to make this dress, I would highly recommend at least making the corset. It just makes the whole thing look better. It fits so much better. It sits... It sits a lot better, and oh god, it's gorgeous. I'm so excited that I now have this. I think going out and getting some cheap satin, like this was like $1.97 per yard at Walmart, which I don't typically like to go buy material, but that was a smoking deal, and doing a project like this, it's really hard to find the satins that you need and the materials that you need at a Goodwill. However, if you were to make like a Pride and Prejudice 2005 edition, you could easily find a bed sheet to do this type of dress, because in that movie they don't do a ton of satins unless they're at a ball, so you can make that dress, the dress style, in like a cotton and it would be perfectly fine. But for the style that I was going for, and it being primarily Bridgerton inspired, they wear so many satins and everything's embellished, and I had to go all out for it, which I don't normally do, but I'm glad that I did in this instance because it just looks so good. And I'm glad that I chose this blue, because the blue that I have is just a bit more of a vibrant blue. And if you were to look at the two, this one's a better one. And even though I wasn't able to get the lace overlay of this whole dress, I still think it turned out really good. The appliques really bring it together. I think it still gives like Bridgerton. I am quite excited for season 3 to come out on May 16th. I am going to be off next week because I have family coming in town, so I won't be posting a video next week. But the week after, I should be good for normal content. I have a couple of big dresses that I kind of want to do. So stay tuned. I don't know if those will take more than a week or not. So get ready for maybe some spotty content. But yeah, I'm very glad that I did the bias tape on all of the seams inside for the arms and for the waistline as well. Just because it keeps the fraying contained so much better. Like, I was losing my mind. Even though you guys couldn't see it, I felt it and it was horrible. So I was losing my mind and it just made it so much better. And I should probably do that on more of my projects. It also like makes things more sturdy and last longer. So I guess I might do something like that later. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this little two-parter. I kind of enjoyed doing the two-part series where I can focus on the undergarments in one video and then the top dress in the other, just because they are two very separate processes, and last week's video was like half an hour long, so if I were to incorporate this in last week's video, that would have been an insanely long video. So I kind of liked the two-parters. I kind of want to play around with that a little bit more, especially when it comes to dresses like these that require like fun undergarments. I was trying to go for like an Eloise kind of look. So I had my two little side pieces out, but my hair is like super long, so I was considering, if you look at Eloise's hair, her little curls end like here, mine ended like here, so I was considering chopping it for the video. I didn't. I just hooked it up into my bun, but I could have. and I almost did. Well, I hope you liked what I did. Let me know what you want to see more of, and I hope you enjoyed this video. So, anywho to do, if you like what I did, go and like and subscribe. I post most Saturdays, mostly at noon, and I will see you in my next video. Thank you for watching!